Chris Hendy, who is one of our new drum teachers who's joined us just this week, and he's going to be doing some teaching for us in schools, working with students across the local area in primary and secondary schools. So I thought this would be a really great opportunity to find out a bit about Chris, a bit of his background, how he became a drummer, and the things you've been up to really. So Chris, why don't we start at the beginning? How did you get into drums in the first place?
So I was one of them really annoying kids that was constantly hitting things, and I found in my mother's drawer the pans and pots, and quintessentially just grabbing the knives and forks and playing along to We Will Rock You.
One of those really annoying kids, making loads of noise.
Making loads of noise, and then she kind of sort of latched onto this and thought, you know what, I'm going to have to get him like an electric drum kit or something, because the noise is obscene. So she got me one of those pink and purple plastic pad machines. It's like, you might have seen these back in the day, but they're almost like a Fisher-Price electric drum kit.
Is it like the desktop ones?
Yeah. And there was no foot pedals.
Yeah.
There was like 30 little demo banks that you could drum along to. I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. And that was me set for a good couple of years. Up until probably when I got to about the age of 12. 13, I started taking on drum lessons.
So is it like early secondary school kind of age?
Yeah, early secondary school. And I just had this sort of insatiable like need to get onto a drum kit and just speak and learn the drumming language.
That's very cool. And what kind of music were you listening to at this time? Like what were you kind of wanting to play?
So again, from my mother's influence, a lot of Queen, and R.E.M., Jamiroquai.
Okay.
I'm sort of one of three brothers as well, so a lot of their musical tastes had like filtered through to me as well. So quite varied in the sense that there was Papa Roach, Linkin Park, a lot of like 90s new metal from my older brothers, and then my mother's taste of Queen, like I've already mentioned, and Burt Bacharach, great songwriting.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
And then my dad is a rockabilly guy, so he loves like loads of Donovan, rockabilly, Bill Haley and the Comets.
Quite a diverse mix of stuff, like experiences and exposures that you've had over that time then.
Yeah, and then by the time I came to the kit, I think I just wanted to rock out.
Yeah. And so when was this? What was the music scene that you were like when you were 12, 13? What kind of what decade are we in here?
We're in like the early 2000s.
Okay.
By this point.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, Papa Roach, Linkin Park, Korn.
Yeah.
Quite
with
heavy.
a K.
Yeah. Quite heavy new metal music out and about. Sum 41, Blink 182.
Yeah.
Sort of pop. Pop punk.
That slightly
scene.
kind of skaterish kind of scene. Yeah. And of course, by then we're coming out of that Britpop stage, and everything was getting a little bit heavier and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine was a huge influence. Of course, I couldn't play any of this stuff at that time. These sounds, I was forever chasing. How to sound like these players and these bands. But for me, I loved records as well, because again, like listening to what my parents listened to, they were record collectors in some sense. So I got a real good flavour for James Brown, real good flavour for what would you call it? Burt Bacharach. And Aretha Franklin. A lot of Motown soul records. So sort of when I kind of sort of left that kind of teenage kind of era and came into a sort of like 18, 19, 20, 21, I'm now sort of feeling like a real funky drummer.
Nice.
And that's sort of like where I'd sort of had an influence into Jamiroquai. I kind of sort of thought that this is the funkiest, hippest music that I could get into. How do I find who's the OG, who's the originator? And through my dad's influence, like I found that it's obviously James Brown and those records, those funk masters.
So you almost kind of like found what you like and then started backtracking from it and kind of experiencing, okay, what else is like that? Where did that come from? What was the influence of that?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. And so, did you do GCSE music, A-level music, or what did you do around the kind of academic side of things?
Yeah, so I kind of sort of found my community, my brothers and sisters in arms, like in high school.
That's cool.
I wasn't really a sporty person.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit of an arty person, I guess, but when I realised that the music room was free at lunchtimes, that's where you would find me and my friends.
Yeah, that's cool.
And we'd be jamming out to Muse, Plug-in Baby, and
and
rocking out to Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
And was that other drummers with you, or was that people playing guitar and bass and singing?
No, I think I was lucky enough to be the only drummer in my year.
Wow.
So there wasn't much like, it was all for me, really.
Yes.
There was a couple of drummers in the year below me.
Yeah.
But we all had like a visiting drum teacher that would come in. Whatever year group you were in, you would still go to as a group lesson to this drum teacher, and that was friendly competition in those group lessons. It really like whoever got the beat first, whoever learnt the drum fill first. You kind of sort of always wanted to try and one up each other.
Yeah. And it's a really great thing sometimes, that, isn't it? Because it can push each other on. You can spur each other on to keep going and keep trying and keep persevering.
Yeah. Still do it now.
Yes, absolutely. And so you've finished school, and were you playing in bands outside of school at this time? Were you gigging by then, or what were you?
Not quite gigging yet. Once I'd left high school and got into my A levels at Chichester, but the campus was already on the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
Wonderful place called Platform 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of again my musical family had grown.
Yeah.
Much more, and I'd met more drummers, more guitarists, more bass players, and singers.
Yeah.
And by that point, you're making bands with each other.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm from originally, on the Isle of Wight, where there is lots of pubs. There's lots of venues and opportunities for those new up-and-coming bands to go play. Yeah,
I've heard there's a slightly kind of circuit-like feel to the Isle of Wight around the different. You move from bar to bar to bar as a band.
That's right. Yeah, it's very self-contained.
Yeah.
And you do go from bar to bar, and that competition that used to be in the drum room amongst your peer drummers you're now competing bands competing for those venues. So there's like friendly competition, and then your set lists are getting refined, and how you play your arrangement of a certain song. You might want to purposely differ it to someone else. Yeah. So you're not doing the same songs the same way. Yeah. In the same venue.
And so when you're at Platform 1 then, so that's a specialist music course at university level. What were the kinds of things that you were doing? What were the experiences that you were getting there?
Oh, great. So it was like a full-on commercial music course. So, we would study the likes of Bob Dylan, the Beatles, Aretha Franklin, and great songwriters, great producers, like Chic, Nile Rodgers. Yeah. Even as progressive as Frank Zappa, and why his music is important to the music industry. Yeah. It was really broad scope. We would do production lessons. We had 2 amazing studios in there, with big audience music desks, and we had no idea how to, run them properly. Everything was red lights and smoke coming out of it. But we did record music on each other's albums, testing out different styles. Yeah. And then as well, there'd be an end of week showcase. We'd go to like a regular college supported bar that all of us could play our songs live in, whether they be original or covers. It was a real mix.
It sounds like a really diverse course, actually, rather than being a very specialist in like this. It sounds much broader than that, and almost quite experimental. Like, let's see what happens when we do it like this, and I'm jump in on this, and that kind of approach.
It was really, really. I think because the music industry at the time was changing so quickly. With the internet, there was then MySpace, and then there was Facebook and Spotify, and all these things are all relatively new. So band promotion and labels were kind of effectively cut out. They were cutting the middleman out. Yeah. Bands didn't necessarily need to distribute themselves. Yeah.
Was it the Arctic Monkeys grew their following on MySpace, weren't they?
Yeah.
It was like they got millions of followers on MySpace and completely bypassed the whole management process.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Yeah. So we had lessons like Photoshop lessons,
Wow.
how to sort of like build a really good looking band poster to promote your own gig.
That's really forward looking.
Yeah, it was quite new. And then sort of how to use a digital audio workstation, how to use GarageBand on a laptop.
Yeah.
It was quite tech forward,
Yeah.
I think, at the time. But also when it came to just learning the instrument, which is what I was 80%. That was me.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get on the drums. I had an hour-long drum lesson with a great drum teacher, and that was really a special part of my week.
Yeah. Proper like focused improvement, like pushing and
musical concepts and just being enlightened with what keys of knowledge allow me to open myself up and my playing through the next door.
Yeah, got it. And so, was it a 3-year course?
It was, yeah. So I did a 2-year BTEC and then
Yeah.
I did a 3-year BA after that.
Got it. And so you come out, and quite often people find it quite a scary time when they come out of college, because it's like you've been in this really immersive environment and it's very kind of intense sometimes. And it's almost like open a door and go, off you go. And it's like, oh, what do I do now? And so what did you do then?
Well, so I was really lucky. I got scouted out by a previous member of the school, an ex-student who was a couple of years older than myself. And I didn't know they existed, but they were looking for a drummer.
Right.
And they approached the college directors and asked, do you have any good drummers that I could take away with me on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I got so lucky to go straight into a pretty intense playing gig, live, 250 songs, get flown out to Tenerife, meet the cruise ship there, join it. Never met the band before, totally out on a whim. And of course I was like petrified of this.
Yeah.
I'd written out charts for every single song, had this huge book full of paper, because I was like, how can anyone remember more than 30 songs? Because by this point I'd only ever done circuits on the Isle of Wight, pub circuits. I don't need any more than 30 songs to fill out 2 hours of music, 45 minutes of music. Now I've got to think about how many songs I need to fill out for 7 days. So I got not only a wake-up call with my memory test, but also it was a style test. I can't just play rock or pop music all night, or funk music. So I got jazz, pre-dinner jazz and bossa nova and lots of reggae and easy listening music.
It's properly pulling on all of your skills and like your experience and all of the time at college, like you're building all this stuff up, and all of a sudden the doors open and you're having to use that knowledge straight away.
It really is. I feel like it was the best education to springboard from having been in a great establishment, was to bury my head in those songs and take what I can from all those musicians that had already recorded their music.
And so you were Ringo in a Beatles tribute band.
That's right, yeah.
That's so cool. And so was that part of the cruise as well, or was that something completely different?
That's so I completely different. So what I just spoke about was I was in a party band scenario, so a little bit more loose and casual, where I got drafted into the Beatles scene, as it were, was through a friend, and he sort of said, Chris, I know that you're well informed on cruise ships, you get crew life, you know what crew drills are all about, and
you know how it works,
what cabin inspection is all about, and the living lifestyle of maybe sharing a cabin or something. So he understood that. I understood that the cruise ship game is a peculiar life sometimes. So and it takes a certain mindset as well, because some people do get homesick and this, that, and the other. Anyway, he knew that I was well informed to work on cruise ships. So he was already working as a Paul McCartney. He was imitating a McCartney in a Beatle band. And it was like, they're looking for Ringos, which is such a weird thing to say. Like they're looking, their company are looking for many Ringos. So, and my weak point, unfortunately, is my singing. And my friend said, the catch is you have to sing.
Right.
I've got to sing with a little help from my friends. which is great continuity because I really did need help from my friends.
The irony of that.
Yeah. And I always say this, that I'm so glad that I'm not doing a Phil Collins tribute, because to sing and play like Phil Collins, that's another bench. But
different gravy.
To play drums and sing like Ringo, vocally I can just about get by.
Yeah.
Playing wise, it's again to learn even Ringo's mistakes, even to feel your way through those wonderful songs as a Ringo, as a drummer. You learn so much more.
Yeah, I mean, and every drummer's got their own kind of style, haven't they? Their own interpretations, their own inflections, and presumably you had to kind of pick up on all of those things and learn it, as if you were Ringo.
Yeah. It really is. I feel like learning the Beatles from the instrument through Ringo's position back out. It's been extremely eye-opening. Just how they could have functioned with any other drummer, I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, they are the four-headed monster.
Absolutely.
And Ringo's a crucial part of that. And I've met people that don't like what the Beatles did to Pete Best, which was their original drummer. Maybe they did the dirty on him. Maybe Pete Best was too attractive, and they wanted the girls for themselves.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know. I don't know what the full story is, but I know that if it wasn't for Ringo, we wouldn't have the Beatles that we now know and love.
So perhaps a big question in there though is: have you still got the wig?
Yeah, of course I've got.
Excellent.
I've got 2 wigs, and I've got a short, Ed Sullivan style wig that it's almost like a Lego wig. You just pop it on and then it's real good thatch roof on it. And I've got a slightly longer one, which is like the Abbey Road.
The latest stuff.
And they all got hairy and started suing each other.
Yeah. No, interesting. And so then you've eventually joined us, which is amazing for us and amazing for our students, which is just going to be superb. I'm really looking forward to getting you up and running, getting you into schools and getting students learning with you. It's going to be such a cool experience. And one of the things we like to do on these conversations is to find out a little bit about your kind of musical influences, and you talked a little bit about it already. And so if you had to name a single track, if that's possible, of something that really either really influenced you or was always on when you were at home, that kind of when you were growing up was a real kind of key part of your life, what would that track be? Big one. It is
a big one. I there's a Frank Zappa track called Inca Roads, and it's like a 12-minute long prog rock guitar epic. And it's got an incredible drum solo in it. Incredible percussion section in it as well. Percussion player is a lady called Ruth Underwood, and she plays line for line these extremely difficult long rhythms, and the whole band. So Frank Zappa, he's not just a guitarist, but he's a bit of a composer. So he sort of composed a rock orchestra by the sounds of it. But that record's incredible. It's for me the best guitar solo I've ever.
The standout track for you.
Great.
Okay. And if you had to pass a track on, what would that track be?
Promises by Burt Bacharach.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Another great Burt Bacharach piece of music. And again, it's really interesting rhythm. It's really odd time signatures, but it's those odd time signatures that don't sound obviously odd. They just sound like phrases of music that work. It works.
That sounds very cool. Chris, it's been really great catching up with you.
Thanks,
really excited about getting you started and getting you in teaching next week, which is just going to be fab. I know it's going to go so well, and the students are going to love working with you. So thanks very much, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Great.
Super.
Pleasure. Thanks, Steve.